The missed approach is considered one of the most difficult and potentially dangerous instrument procedures, and for good reason. We rarely perform them in real-world IFR, so we get really rusty. To help me get my missed approach right every time, I treat the first part just like any other go-around and use the C's mnemonic to keep me on track. Then I turn the autopilot on and finish it up by using the good old T's from basic instrument flying. The first thing I do on the missed approach is start the climb, also known as the get up and get out of there. You're probably familiar with the 5 C's, right? I like to use the 7 C's. The first C is click it. That typically comes from using a go around button. In our case, what I like to do is press the autopilot disconnect button. Cram it, full power. I like to add right rudder as well as I do that. Climb it. I'll pitch up typically to 10 degrees, my VY climb attitude. Clean it, I'll raise the flaps up. Course it, here's where I'll actually go to the Garmin, press the OBS button to release suspend, and then typically I'll switch my CDI from VLOC to GPS. Confirm it, here's where I'll confirm my missed approach altitude is set to the highest altitude per the procedure, barring any restrictions. And then communicate, I'll notify the tower. Cirrus 8 Alpha Sierra is executing missed approach. Or, if it's a common traffic advisory frequency, Cirrus 8 Alpha Sierra is executing missed approach.
So here I am at Oxnard, California. I'm about a half a mile from my missed approach point. And as I come on in, I'm going to show you my missed approach procedure. Go around, click it, autopilot off, cram it, climb it, raise the nose to 10 degrees nose up, make sure I've got the right rudder in. Clean it, check the flaps are at 50, I've got positive climb, flaps up. The nose is going to come down a little bit, so I'm going to retrim to get the nose back up and check my right rudder. Click it, cram it, climb it, clean it, course it. On course, I'm going to release suspend. Next C is confirm. The missed approach altitude is 3,000 feet. I'm going to reach up, make sure I've got 1 digit set, 3,000, and then what I like to do is actually sync up my current vertical speed at 10 degrees nose up. Click it, cram it, climb it, clean it, course it, confirm the missed approach altitude, and now communicate. Cirrus 8 Alpha Sierra executing missed approach.
Next, I'll go into my autopilot on process, and I have a process for that. It starts with the roll mode. For our autopilots, I'll typically sync up the heading bug and go into heading mode. For pitch, I sync the vertical speed bug so that the autopilot will capture the current vertical speed that I'm at when I press VS out. And finally, GPS. Now, if the missed approach procedure asks me to fly a heading until reaching an altitude, I will not go into GPS mode on the autopilot. But if the procedure now calls for me to take GPS guidance, I'll go nav GPSS. Once we've established the climb and turned the autopilot on, I can now turn on course. What I like to do is use the old T's from basic instrument flying, but I've added one additional T to actually deal with the automation. So the first T is turn. Here I'm looking to make sure, now that the autopilot is engaged, is the airplane turning in the direction it's supposed to be turning per the missed approach procedure. Time, it's usually not applicable, but I say it anyways because that's the process I always use. Twist, here I confirm the course. I'll actually look at my HSI and make sure, is it flying, is it indicating to me the same course that I'm supposed to be flying on the missed approach procedure. Throttle, here I'll go to either climb power or I'll make sure that my speed is a VY climb, and again, I'm still climbing to the missed approach altitude. Talk, on this one, I will actually change to the approach or departure or center frequency that is required for the missed approach. Now, I won't say anything to them, but I will change the frequency in case the controller calls me. And finally, toggle. For toggle, I'm checking that my autopilot modes are correct. Nav, GPSS, out VS, autopilot. And then I look one last time down at the Garmin to make sure I did release suspend. Once I have all that done, I will now talk to the controller. Cirrus 178 Alpha Sierra is on the missed approach, 1,000 climbing 3,000. So now we're going to show you the procedure in action on the Oxnard RNAV runway 7. Let's zoom in and take a look. I'm going to drop the airplane here right before the missed approach point. And you can see it says, climb to 500 feet, then a climbing right turn to 3000 direct Uvica and hold.
Next, turn the autopilot on in its basic mode, heading VS out. And now I start my T's, turn. Well, this turn wants a left turn back to Uvica. I'm gonna start that turn with my heading bug, initially here 90 degrees. Turn, time, I don't need time. Twist, did the Garmin actually advance to the missed approach leg? It did, and I also look at my map, my multifunction display front map integrity check. Throttle, speed looks good, 2,300 climbing 3,000. Talk, I would now change to Magoo for the missed approach departure controller, and finally toggle. At this point I'm gonna go nav, GPSS, out VS, and now the airplane is clearly taking me back to Uvica, my missed approach holding point. So a lot of people think the C's and the T's is a lot. Maybe you're making it too complicated. But I find what it really does is it dots the I's and it crosses the T's. I then do my after takeoff checklist to see what I missed. After takeoff checklist complete. And that's how I manage the missed approach. I do the C's from the go around, I turn my autopilot on, and then I do the T's. If you do it this way, it's going to lead to great missed approaches.